I've been a liar. I think I've done that one actually.
We can go over it again. Go on. Let's have it.
Okay. I've been a liar, been a thief.
Yeah.
Been a liar. I forgot the word.
Oh, he's messed it up. First time in 24 episodes he's messed it up.
That's too much pressure.
We're back.
We are indeed. Indeedy doody.
We're back again.
24.
That's the one. We are
Went down the wrong hole.
Jesus, you alright, boy?
Went down the wrong hole.
You do this every time.
This last 3 episodes, Christ alive. And he's coughing in the mic, even worse. What a start.
Jesus. Anyway, we're back. We're back again. Welcome to the most consistent agricultural podcast out there. We are SBU, aka
The short, the black, and the ugly.
I'm Dylan, aka that farmer dude, and I'll be the ugly this week.
And I am Luke Curtis, and I'll be the black this week.
I'm Leighton, and I'll be the short this week.
We got it right.
It feels really weird sitting this end of the table. I ain't gonna lie.
We
It feels
spiced it
awful.
up. We spiced it up.
We'll mix it up and see how it
Yeah.
goes.
It feels
Oh,
good.
dear.
Little freshen up, isn't it?
We can try that side next week.
Oh yeah, all right. We'll just do it around the table.
We'll just
Well,
keep
we might
moving,
go, we might
just
go
keep
down to the
moving
table.
you around.
Yeah, just keep moving me around. That's
No,
fine.
I don't want to move.
Oh, right.
It's just me and you, Dylan. We just keep moving.
Keep swapping.
See if they notice the difference.
You boys
It's
been
fine.
alright this week? All good?
Yeah, no, can't complain.
Yeah.
Can't complain.
We're still here, aren't we?
Surviving the rain.
Farming away.
Yeah, fucking the old storm's coming in again. Old Storm Bert's had it, isn't it? Storm Bert's been there. Now Storm Conola, or whatever it is, coming in.
Are you like a storm chaser? Why don't you know all their names?
I do a better job than the Met Office right now. I can tell you the weather, they can't, alright?
Come on, tell us what's tomorrow then.
Tomorrow it will be nice and sunny in the morning. There'll be a bit windy in the afternoon. Evenings there will definitely be a rainstorm in the evening again. It
How
seems
much
like
we put in?
Is that for...
How much we put in? Come on.
pint at the pub, here we go.
Oh.
Guarantee I'll get it right. Even if it's a little drizzle of rain, I'm still counting it as a storm because we're in England.
Jesus, the pressure's on it now.
It is indeed.
You get halfway through the day and you start sweating a little bit going, when's this rain coming? It's coming.
I'm just going to get a water can, put it over my head and be like, boys, it's raining. It's torrential. Anyway, boys.
We got a guest, didn't we?
We have indeed.
We have got a guest. Who have we got?
Well, this guest has probably got the biggest shares in Foster's beer in the country, I reckon.
That's not true.
Well, she also does know her way around a bullock. Oh, God. Sorry.
From what I've heard, there is not a show ring in this country that she's not been in.
Really?
Yeah.
She's that well travelled.
Wow.
Oh.
Careful now. Steady.
Yeah, here we go.
Steady now.
Who have we got, boys?
We have got the one and only
Miss
Brenda Hyde.
Welcome.
Hello, Brenda. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you very much. Yeah, good.
First podcast?
Yes, very much so.
Excited?
Nervous. It goes horribly
I love
wrong.
it. I love it.
Nothing.
I don't think I've ever seen her nervous.
No,
to be
I
honest.
don't either. I think it's brilliant.
That's it.
Normally it's you making us feel nervous
Yeah.
when we're shying cattle.
I've been doing that a few years, so I know how to do that.
It's when you're in the show ring and you've got your young handlers and you just see Brenda walk over to the edge of the show ring and you're like, shit, Brenda's here. Quick, let's do it properly. Let's do it properly. Well, Brenda, so, what do you do?
I now show cattle for 3 or 4 people throughout the year, different breeds. But because that's what I love doing. I love showing cattle, and I think it's an important part of the agricultural industry in getting it out to the public. It's the only thing the public see of livestock in this country, sadly.
It is.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? But you've obviously had a massive influence within the beef industry the last few years, or throughout your life, have you? Or
I've been showing cattle for something like 40 years, which is frightening. It's changed greatly in those years. I mean, I've had some very good times, I've had some not so good times, and I've had some very interesting experiences through being in the pedigree world. I'm mainly pedigrees. I have done crossbreds. I am now with a crossbred herd mainly, but my main interest and love has been showing pedigree cattle.
Blimey.
So let's go back to the beginning, Brenda.
Yeah.
How did you get into agriculture?
Where did it all start?
It started with my father, who managed a Hereford herd in Sussex. And from that, I was very lucky because I'm going back close to 40 years. There wasn't many females in the industry, particularly showing cattle. I mean, I was only young then, very young. But I showed at Ardingly as a 13-year-old. But there wasn't young handlers classes, so you had to go with the big boys. And not long after that, I was lucky enough to be able to go through the Hereford young breeders and ended up 3.5 months, nearly 4 months in America, which was the most interesting and not worrying, but I mean, I hadn't left home. I mean, I was 19 or 20. I'd never been on an aeroplane, let alone go to America, and end up getting missing connections to meet people I was supposed to meet that I didn't know. It was all done. There wasn't emails, there wasn't iPhones, there was nothing like that. So you just waited at the airport till somebody turned up and said, "Are you who you say you are?" Because you didn't have those the communication wasn't like it is now.
Yeah.
That'd be a quick flight back, wouldn't it? No one turned up.
Quick turn round, here we go. Going back home.
Yeah, and you ended up meeting people. I mean, I was very lucky. I had 3.5 months out there, paid for by the Hereford Society, and that's why now I'm very keen on the youngsters getting away and having those experiences that I had, luckily, all those years ago.
Does the Hereford still have the young
Yes.
breeders development program?
Yeah. I think most of the breeds now do. I mean, the YDP and the Angus and the Shorthorns are obviously the most known, but I mean, the Hereford world, I think next year we're going to New Zealand. You know, it is opportunities that nowadays is so much easier to do than it was when I did it 30 years ago.
Yeah, definitely.
So you've touched on the cattle side of things, and that is predominantly what you're based around. Have you done anything else in agriculture at all? Sheep, pigs, arable, tractor driving?
I'm not a very good tractor driver. I hate tractors.
Cheers to that.
I did a few 18 months, 2 years when I was self-employed. After I'd come back from America, I spent 18 months, 2 years self-employed, and I worked in a place in Ticehurst, Stonegate, with pigs and sheep, which was fine. It was a job. In those days, particularly being female, it was very difficult to get into the cattle world. I mean, I was lucky with that little Hereford I had for those few years when I could work with Herefords, but after that it was very difficult. So I went self-employed, worked at what is now a big wedding venue in Stonegate, Ticehurst. They had pigs then, not a wedding venue. And part-time worked at Stonegate with a chap who, for the older generation, would know, Mick Reed, who was, again, a guy that was over and above politics. He flew an aeroplane over Newcastle with chucking out bits of leaflets out of the aeroplane when he didn't agree with something. That's the sort of guy he was.
Fuck you, Starmer.
Yeah, something a bit like that in his day.
Yeah, what's Ollie Bloggs playing at? Yeah. Sort your life out, mate.
And I was lucky enough to work for him part-time when I worked for the pigs and the sheep person in Ticehurst. And I got my break then because when his farm manager, Stockman, retired in 86, 87, everybody said to me, "Oh, well, who are you going to take on as your farm manager?" Well, Brenda, a female? And he said, "Yes, I'm going to give her a go." And that was how I managed to get where I am today, really.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Had 20 years with him and then 20 years with Michael Hind at Bunchurst.
Yeah.
So,
go on.
I was just going to ask, in your obviously illustrious career in agriculture, how much has the agricultural industry changed across your or through your lifetime?
Tremendously.
For the better or for the worse, or
For the people like me who love showing cattle for the worst, I'm not saying for the worst, I think I've seen the best times. The shows, I mean, I know the youngsters say, oh, it's all good fun, it's a this, that and the other. And it is, and I still love it with a passion. But I go back to the Royal Show at Stoneleigh and to Royal Smithfield in London. And those two shows were places that people don't know about, and sadly it'll never come back because of the cost of it. You know, Earl's Court shut, or Royal Smithfield shut in London because the cost of the big machineries going into Earl's Court, they couldn't put them on the floors because the floors wouldn't hold the new machinery.
Wow.
It was just too
Really
big.
interesting, because that was one hell of a show, wasn't it? From what I've heard from lots and lots of people, and you probably have as well. I don't know about yourself, but that Smithfield market, especially this time of year.
Yeah, Christmas, I mean, all the Scotsmen used to come down. Every year you had the same guys appear with their wives who used to go to Harrods and go to Oxford Street and do all that Christmas shopping stuff. And the blokes used to sit in Smithfield and get absolutely rat-assed.
You're not keen on a bit of Christmas shopping?
No, I don't do shops and I don't do that. But Smithfield was that. I mean, you used to have to get into Smithfield on the Friday. I mean, the Scots boys travelled down overnight, and I think it was 7 o'clock. The vets were there to let you in and go all through that, which was quite a rigmarole. You couldn't just go into Smithfield. The vets used to check you've got no ringworm, the cattle got no ringworm, no lice, nothing, and they were reasonably quiet. But then all the blokes who'd been down, travelled overnight, they get down underneath, because in those days when I first started, all the men used to sleep underneath Earl's Court. No women allowed. We weren't allowed down there. And then they would be on the whiskey from Friday through to Wednesday.
No women allowed?
Not down the bottom, and that's where I nearly got arrested.
Oh, there we go.
Because again, I was still much involved with the Hereford world in those days, and the Hereford Stockmen's Club used to have a committee meeting Tuesday afternoon after all the judging had finished. We'd all go down there, because I was in the Hereford Stockmen's Club. You'd go down there, we'd have a committee meeting, and that lasted a couple of hours. Probably about 5 or 6 bottles of whiskey later. There'd be 10 or a dozen of us, or 15 of us, 20 perhaps. Well, this particular night, I didn't actually get out at the bottom. And I got a lovely guy who's sadly no longer with me, same age as me, but no longer with us. I was going up the stairs in the morning as he was coming down. He said, "You haven't been down there all night?" I said, "No, Donald, not me." He said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Because you know the police are all..." I said, "I know the police are about, but they don't bother about people like me who don't cause trouble." Nowadays, they probably would care about somebody like that.
oh dear.
But not in those days. You're talking about early 90s.
Wow.
Because, I mean, Smithfield shut probably 2004 or 5.
So you got away with it then?
I got away with it.
Oh,
I used to get away with quite a lot.
hey, here we go.
Because I was a female in a man's world. And there wasn't many female stockmen till probably the late 2000s.
So let's touch on that then. So how did you feel being the minority in that world then?
It never bothered me, because as much fun as I had and camaraderie with the blokes, because I never ever felt unsafe.
Right.
Because there was always somebody looking at your back. I mean, again, South of England show, when I was still at school, my mother used to be secretary of the Hereford Society, South East Hereford Society, and she had a caravan at the end of where the Abergavenny is now, but that was before the Abergavenny. There was the caravan park there, and when I got to about 14 or 15, Friday nights I was allowed to stay in the caravan.
Oh, here we go.
Mum and Dad used to go home, and I used to be able to sleep in the caravan. And this particular night, there was a group of idiots, lads, started to rock the caravan. I was asleep because I didn't used to drink in those days. Because we didn't at that age, when 15, 16, we didn't. And suddenly the Sussex boys, and I mean they were the Sussex boys that are now, some still with us, some not, they suddenly got hold of these kids. You leave her alone. Her mother's left us and she's safe with us. And they were people that were absolutely wrecked, but they were still keeping an eye on me. And in those days, they were lads at that, or chaps in that age. I mean, one of them now be in his 80s, he's 20 years older than me. So, we're not talking about seriously old, but they were
young pups.
They used to always keep an eye on us.
They're younger than us boys, isn't they?
Yeah.
We're just we're not even born yet. Not in this world.
Not in that world, you weren't. No.
Twinkle in the eye. Twinkle in the eye.
You wish.
After hearing these stories, I wish I was. Yeah,
that's right.
Christ, it's pretty wild, isn't it?
The shows were wild. I mean, there was a time at Ardingly, one of the security guards, I shall never forget it, he had to cut his way out of the tent with the Sussex lads on the Sussex tee, but at the end of it, they went and saved him his job, because they said it was our Sussex tee that made him pissed. I mean, he fell over because nobody could get out because his dog was there with him. He'd gone off duty, wrecked on Sussex tee, and in the morning they sacked him, but the Sussex lads went and said, that was our fault. He thought he was only drinking tea.
So for all our listeners that are across the globe and Scotland, Wales and that won't be 100% sure on what Sussex tea is or what it involves, enlighten those people that wouldn't have a clue, Brenda.
Sussex tea was developed by three old Sussex stockmen whose granddaughters are now older than me, and it was made, in the end they decided whiskey and tea, but you must not boil it. A pot of tea for 4 cups plus a bottle of whiskey. It goes into a bucket and it simmers. It tastes lovely, but you walk out into the open air having been drinking tea for 2 or 3 hours, bang.
So you go.
You're on the bang again. This is the Sussex tea bang.
It is.
This is the ride away bang.
Sussex tea bag.
Yeah,
Here we
like
are.
this,
I've seen serious drinkers drink Sussex tea to the extent that they walk up, or they get up to walk and they can't walk.
Cool.
Because you think you are drinking only tea, and it's sugar to taste, but it is done 4 cups and a bottle of whiskey. But in those days, the regime was the female champion who owned the female champion, they put a bottle of whiskey in, the male champion would, and if you happened to be supreme, well, that was another bottle. So they started with 3, and then all the stockmen used to join in and add the extras.
I'd love for that all to come back, I think.
Jesus.
I'll try you once on it. I'll see how long you last.
Alright, let's go. Next year. Here we go.
So, because you're talking about showing and stuff, so in the what little things have disappeared? Like, like you're saying about the male or the champion or the female buys this, like, or the champion of that breed buys everyone around and stuff like. What other little things are missing these days?
The traditions.
A lot of the traditions have gone, sadly, because it used to be the owners would do it for the stockman. Now the owners are a lot of the time the show people. And what's killed a lot of that camaraderie was we'd all sit on a bough behind the cattle, but now they all go back to their caravans or their campers or whatever. So that's what's changed big time, and there isn't the stockman about. I mean, that is the one thing I will say. At the moment in the Sussex, there is a lot of youngsters getting that, and they are. I mean, because I do other breeds, it is quite often I get said, oh, there's a nice lot of youngsters sitting in the lines having a drink, not getting silly, but having a drink together. Whereas a lot of the other breeds now, it is owners, and they go off and do their own thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, we like showing when we've gone out and stuff. It is, you tell us stories about it all and stuff, and it has changed massively. I mean, like afterwards, we do it that if we've won, we'd buy the drinks at the evening party or something.
Yeah.
But not everyone does that.
No.
And it's a shame that those traditions have gone.
Yeah. It is, because it's very difficult then for new people to get the same vibes as I had. I mean, we always used to say, I mean, when I started, but more so when the next generation, if you started, sit on the bows and listen to the stockman. Keep your mouth shut and your ears open, and you'll learn an awful lot. But you don't get that now, because there is still those stockmen about, but a lot of the youngsters disappear off to other things and don't just sit listening to the old boys.
Yeah.
But could it also be that today's generation have a lot to say?
Yes.
A lot of these youngsters, looking at Leighton, just won't shut up. And always think that their experience trumps a lot of things. But a lot of people don't realise that experience is something that you've got to take on board.
Cheeky fucker.
You can't.
I don't want to out him, but that's how I made my career in agriculture.
Yeah.
I said very quiet.
Yeah.
I still sit quiet now.
Yeah.
I was quite happy. Just put my head down. You ask who taught me the sheep job.
Yeah.
I'm not going
I
to
wouldn't
talk
say-
for the rest of the
apparently-
podcast now.
Apparently I was a quiet person.
And you learn a lot more by just taking
You
on
feel
board.
it? Yeah.
And okay, you can ask questions, and you have
You
to
don't
take a
say.
little bit. You have to take a little bit of what they say, but then, I mean, I'm now helping another young couple in a different breed, and he asks too many people, and now people are getting fed up with the fact that he's asking for so much advice and not taking any of it. So there is that very thin borderline about just sitting and listening and asking. People will be honest 99% of the time.
Do you think that comes from people that have been brought up with a family farm? The ones that aren't listening as much?
Yes.
Because, I don't want to speak for you boys, but I have to listen to people because I know no different.
Yeah, 100%.
And
I
a lot
can't-
of people go
I wouldn't have a clue.
No, and
Yeah.
I think the other side of it is now a lot of the agricultural colleges that are sending out youngsters into the world, they think they're all going to come out as managers. And sadly, there isn't that number of managers. They've got to start at the bottom. But I mean, I know a lad that worked a little bit for me, and that's what all he kept on about. He was going to go to agriculture college, and he was then going to come out as a manager for Savills or Stratton Parkers or one of those. And it doesn't happen because you haven't got that experience.
Wow.
You're awfully quiet.
He's sitting there
It's
listening.
just, he knows everything anyway, yeah.
I'm listening. You just told me to listen. That's what I'm doing.
I knew something was boiling away in his head.
So, Brenda,
Fair play.
with all this showing malarkey and everything, have you had a farming fuck up?
Have I?
What's the
Ever
biggest
fuck
one?
up? I
Well,
wouldn't
yeah,
say
what's the
that.
biggest one?
I wouldn't say that. I've had some close encounters. I mean, I could be not that long ago sitting now here in a wheelchair where I thought I knew better. I took a tractor and I'd said to our student for weeks, go and take those bits of tin up the tip. And she never did it, so I did it. But I was on the back of a tractor in those days with no roll bar and these bloody great bits of corrugated sheeting up against it. Put the tractor back. I thought, why didn't it go back? Lifted the corrugated sheet up. It went over my shoulder blades.
Oh, shit.
3 inches further up, they reckon I'd have broken my neck.
Bloody hell.
And that was just because it was the year after the hurricane in 87, and I was fed up with these bloody things in the yard. I crawled from the pit to my neighbour, who's now a great friend of mine. I didn't know her from Adam from then. I made her daughter scream because this woman appeared with a donkey jacket on, crawling up on hands and knees to her house. And that could have been me in a wheelchair for the rest of my life.
Jesus
So that was
Christ.
one mess up where you think, oh, I do that in a hurry, you do that quick. It doesn't, and you think afterwards, it could have been a nasty mistake. Other mess ups we had a cow car once, and I thought, oh, she'd be all right. Pissing with rain, November time, in the middle of the woods, she calved fine, lovely. In those days, my husband-to-be used to travel up every Friday night to see me for the weekend. And I said to him, I won't be long, just go and check that cow and calf. You're all right, he said. Go, off you go. Phoned him up, there was no mobile phones. Well, he had one, but I didn't. So I walked back. I said to him, I've got a bit of a problem. The cow slipped into the pond and she'd gone backwards. Calf was on the bank in the dry, lovely. And we ended up with a fire brigade. Couldn't get to her, so they had to winch her up to a tree to get her out of the wood. But if I'd have done it, instead of thinking about, oh, Tom's coming up tonight, I better get home, if I'd have got her out of the wood after she'd calved, that wouldn't have happened.
It's always that, yeah. It's
You
always
think-
just,
You said the famous saying, it'll be alright.
Right, yeah, she'd be all right.
she'll be alright,
That's
she'll
it.
be alright.
Right, yeah.
Doesn't always work like that, does it, in
Don't
farming?
Always like that. No,
But yeah,
no.
well, that's some pretty scary stuff then. What's happened to you, Brenda? Jeez.
I'm
We
still
always-
here to tell the tale.
You are?
Which is, the thing you've got to be grateful for.
No, definitely. And
Because
obviously,
farming is, as we all know, one of the most dangerous industries in the world.
it is. It is indeed.
But one of the best.
And one of the best. Oh, I wouldn't change anything.
You wouldn't?
I wouldn't change. No, I wouldn't. I mean, everybody says, "Oh, you don't do a lot of judging." No, I don't judge Sussex cattle very much over this part of the world. But one of my greatest experiences was judging in South Africa, and that was
Jesus Christ,
Lucky.
we didn't even get on to the judging part, but yeah, let's
that
go
was
there.
the
This is mega.
only time I've ever judged Sussex cattle, apart from at a show and sale, because I preferred to show than judge.
Bloody hell.
But I judged in South Africa in 2013. Started at 9 o'clock in the morning and finished at 6 o'clock at night. Most of the classes, there was 30 odd in there. A different world.
They do it well out there, then, didn't
Oh,
they?
yeah.
Jeez.
And
Have
all
you ever gone showing out there? You've been showing out there
Have
at
you
all?
ever been to South Africa?
Yeah, I've been showing. Yeah, been showing back home.
Enjoy?
That's all right. Not really, no.
He doesn't like, you're not a shower. It's not your thing, is it, Dylan?
Nope. I prefer the alcohol, and that's it, pretty much.
It's not a bad way to go. It's not a bad way to go.
Exactly, yeah, that's it.
No, it's just not for me. I don't think there's in the showing world, and I've been around a few shows
Yeah.
like around here, wherever. And I think the exhibitors that show, there's probably about 2 handfuls of people that I can say are really welcoming people. The rest of they're all. I know it's a stressful environment. You've been up since 4 a.m. or whatever, but it's just I can't see. You go in there and everyone's shouting and screaming and they've upset me because their cow's eyebrows are 2 inches longer than mine. So how the fuck have they won? And I just can't see. In today's day and age, I can't see the benefit in showing. I love the shows and I think this show should go on, but from that point of view, I just can't see when these boys are like, oh yeah, we're going showing this. Oh, fuck.
It is a fair point though, because obviously I'm pretty new to showing
Yeah.
the last 4 or 5 years, but the politics are huge.
Oh, politics are huge. And they've got worse.
Have
Because, only a lot of it because, again, you've got a lot of the owners in the ring and there's not the numbers. I mean, when I first started showing, Sussex in the late 80s, early 90s, in the yearling class there'd be 20. So there wasn't the politics because there was too many to be politically judging the right, It was the best animal went up, not all. And again, there's something I don't agree with, but then that's because I'm old. So many now, you get the first 2 or 3 shows over, it's all on Facebook, it's all on the media. So after that, it's a job to get beaten by something that's won 2 or 3 shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it's everybody. I mean, all the judges, whether they go to the shows. I mean, it used to be the unwritten rule. If you were judging in the southeast, you didn't you didn't attend the early shows, but you can't do that now
No.
because it's all out in the open anyway. So it doesn't matter whether you're there or not, really. But it never used to be.
So do you think that the judges now are judging the animal based on the previous judge because they're saying, well, I don't want to be different from that judge because they've obviously...
Some and some. Some of the older judges will still judge what they like, and particularly amongst the Sussex people down in this part of the world, there is certain judges don't like this or they don't like that. Whereas outside of probably most of the natives, it's a bit different because the continental breeds are more. There's more people out and about in them.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it because the judging pool and the people in the breed has been diluted so much that you are recycling the judges year on year?
Yeah.
That you kind of know if you go to this show, he didn't choose me last year because he liked this sort of beast, or...
You know the judges' types, didn't you?
Yeah.
After a while. You start seeing it and you're like, oh,
But
yeah,
how do you think we could ever change that moving forwards?
I don't think you will nowadays because of the expense of the shows, and they are expensive. You won't ever get a lot more people showing, and that's the only way to change it, is to get a lot more people showing.
But this isn't just cattle, though, is it? This would be across the board.
Oh, it'd be, yeah. I mean, we had the incident this time at Edenbridge that 2 or 3 of the exhibitors in 1 or 2 of the sheep breeds threw their toys out the pram because the guy that judged them, they didn't think did a good job. But that's only their opinion. And my argument is, I go into a show ring to win. If I don't win, I walk out. Bloody judge, I don't know what you're talking about. But at the end of that, that's the end of it for me. You can't change it. It was his decision, end of story. But a lot of people take that grudge further on.
Right.
You know, there's 1 or 2 judges that I think twice about going under because I know they don't like my type of cattle, and that's your choice. But don't enter, go under them and then moan about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you say, we are the only people the public see with stock.
Yeah.
Like direct people in that
They love
limelight.
talking and touching the calves and that. And most kids, let's face it, that's the only real life animal they'll ever see. I mean,
that close up, probably.
That close up as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously other ways they can see them on farm with a bottle feeding lamb session, but they've got to pay 75 quid for some of those things.
Yeah.
Open Farm Sunday is free.
Well, open farm Sunday, yeah.
Country farm.
Yeah.
You can watch a bit of country farm.
Yeah, there's those sort of things, but
That's
I think
once a year, though, isn't it?
generally
So are shows.
people.
So are shows.
But
Yeah.
there's hundreds of them. There's hundreds of shows here, there, and everywhere in the
Yeah,
country.
but how can you guarantee that kid's mum is going to be free on all of those weekends? If that kid's mum is free that weekend, they go to that show. That's that. If that kid's mum is free on Open Farm Sunday, that's that. That's them done.
I think that's another good way of the general public getting to see livestock. And I think whatever chances there are, however we do it, that is the most important. Because, I mean, I was talking to a guy last night who's, I don't know what he is, and he hadn't got a clue about cattle and farming and that. Because I was talking about, he said, have you finished calving? I said, no, I've got 1 left to calve. Well, how come she hasn't calved? And I was trying to explain to him the fact that the bull wasn't working. And he had no conception of how actually that calf would arrive even, let alone be bought, you know. And I thought, you're a grown man living in the country, and he had not got... I said, I'll give you a sex lesson one day, young man.
I bet his ears pricked out there then, Brenda.
I mean, he's probably in his 30s or 40s. He's got kids, as far as I know. I mean, I don't know, but I thought to myself, they haven't got a clue.
Like, I can argue that between the show and an Open Farm Sunday, a kid will receive more education at an Open Farm Sunday rather than the show, because when you go to the cattle arena, when they let or cattle buildings, when they let the public in, I rarely see a farmer stood there talking to members of the public, explaining different stuff to him. I
Did
know
that used to happen?
And that very much used to happen.
Did it?
And I mean, particularly at the local, like at Arding Light, I mean, it used to be a bloody nightmare for us stock people. On a Friday was school kid day, and you'd sit there all day asking the same, oh, that's a bull. No, it's not a bull. I mean, my late husband was one of those who was quite blunt with kids. He'd say, no, lift its tail. If it's got 2 holes, it's a female. If it's only got 1, it's a male.
Yeah, but that's education.
Yeah.
But you don't see that these days.
You don't see it anymore.
You
We don't see so much of it now.
No.
So I can argue that.
Yeah.
Go back to my point of what's the point of the shows?
I still
Education,
think,
yeah.
how many farms will you get that close up to the arse end of a cattle on
Yeah.
Open Farm Sunday, though?
Oh, what? Get that close? Yeah, we did it on our farm. They
But
got
that's
tame
your farm.
cows.
Like, I can't do it at my farm because the owner won't let me do it. I don't know about yours. I'd love to do it and have the people on my farm, but I can't do it.
Yeah.
And the trouble
Yeah.
is now, is health and safety and all that side of it is stopping farmers doing it on their farms, because unless that you're geared up for it, they're petrified of being sued. Whereas at the shows, within reason, the show covers that worry of being sued against somebody getting kicked or whatever, and you won't worry about that.
But for me, even if it's not the show, it's not the exhibitors. So you've been up since 4:00.
Yeah.
And you don't really want to stand there. But the shows themselves, if you put those stewards they've got on and say do a rotation, 3 stewards in the show in the building,
Yeah.
answering questions from members of the public for 10 minutes, then they swap with another 3.
You're bang on.
I would rather see that than
Yeah.
then I can see a benefit from the shows then.
Yeah.
Because at the minute, apart from maybe a shearing demo and the farriers or something, people go there, walk around, buy a 20 quid burger and
Yeah.
go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many people we can tolerate when you're doing that,
Yeah.
isn't there? Like Christ,
It is a different
but-
way, but at least they see cattle and they get.
I'll speak to 40, 50 people, if that,
Yeah.
across that weekend, and you try your best and you'll have a great chat with them, but some of the chats take an hour. You get talking to them, they'll ask you hundreds of questions. You'll be brilliant with that one person, but then you look at the people walking by behind them thinking they might want to ask you a question,
Yeah.
but it's just not done in the right way.
No.
You've got to try and pull a crowd in almost and talk to them about each different animal and how it goes about and how it's
Get
made.
it in the ring. Get 3 dairy cows, 3 beef cows. Have a big education section when you're all on having your lunch or whatever. That I'd take that.
I mean,
Should the
the
markets
South of
do
England, South of England do that. They have the butchers demonstration and things like that.
It's not
that goes on,
publicised
but-
enough.
No,
No, it's
that
not.
is trouble.
That
that is
is-
trouble.
Yeah, it is, and I think there's a lot of work that needs to go into that in the sense of the rings need to be designed so public can get all the way around, not just one side of it and everything, and to actually get.
But all that's again come through health and safety and that. I mean, now they don't like you going outside of that central passage. It never used to be. I mean, you used to have public walking about all over the place.
yeah,
but again,
yeah.
the world has changed sadly, and that's where the problem has become more of an issue for people to get, as you say, the normal knowledge that which you wouldn't need to take for ages if only there was more access to the cattle lines.
How does it go down at these bigger shows in terms of that bridging the gap with the public? So like the Highland, the Welsh, the Yorkshire, Royal Cornwall.
The Royal, a lot of them now seem to be that they don't want the public in the cattle building because of the health and safety. So like the Yorkshire, there's always judging going on, and I mean the commentary is, for us who are there for 3 or 4 days, is monotonous, but you can get it because it is getting out the information to the public, and that's the thing. You've got to keep the rings full with cattle and sheep in the sheep lines and pigs to keep that continuity for the general public.
Definitely.
And the horses manage it, so why can't the livestock manage it? There's always something going on in the horse rings and the main rings.
I must admit, the livestock probably don't manage it as well because there isn't the entries there.
No.
There isn't enough cattle there to be able to keep it going.
No, as it used to be, and I think, again, I mean, these shows have got to do it, and I understand why they're doing it now, Friday, Saturday, Sundays, but for the stock people, the Sundays are a pain in the neck.
That's horrible.
Because you've got, particularly if you're not fully employed by whoever you're working there for, you then got to get home late Sunday night and go to work for the person who's paying your bills on Monday morning. But they do it because the horses rule the shows. All the shows, most of the shows that were midweek, because it was for the farmers, is now for the general public and the horses.
Interesting, isn't it? You're not wrong, because how many events do you see in the main ring which are equine compared to livestock? You've got a grand parade probably once or twice.
Yeah.
The whole weekend you're at a 3-day show, haven't you?
Yeah.
But there'll probably be an equine event. There'll be a horse and cart event.
There's always something. That
Scurry,
rally thing.
the
The scurry, that's
Scurry,
it.
Scurries, yeah. But that draws the public. They like to see those horse events in the main ring. And they're not cheap. I mean, apart from the heavy horses, don't forget, most of the horsey events pay for themselves pretty well, whereas at all agricultural shows, the livestock costs the shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because of the hiring, I mean, not at Salamina, but the hiring of the marquees and everything else, it costs the shows for cattle to be there. But during foot and mouth, the shows where we couldn't go, they realised if they didn't have the cattle, they didn't get the public through the door. The public would pay to go and see the livestock, because they can go and see a bloody gymkhana or a horse event every weekend, wherever they want to. But they can't see cattle every week. And you know, some of the little shows that have died over the last 15 years have died because the cattle haven't been there. You know, when I showed many moons ago, I did 34 one-day shows. In the south, only in the south east and southwest, 34. And now, if you can find 10, you'll be lucky. One-day shows.
That's 34 days on the piss.
I tell you what,
Grin.
the saying about scurries and everything. Do we all hear about that tractor driver that went through the floods?
Oh, yeah.
How have you gone from scurrying?
I was just thinking, really quick,
Quick.
going around corners when
Corners.
you hit the bump and stuff. That's what he did, didn't he?
Diving in and out.
He did.
All come out today, isn't it?
Yeah.
He has indeed, yeah. He's been charged. He's been charged.
He's been
not
arrested.
Charged. He's been arrested and out on bail.
What we got?
What was he doing? Was he going to rescue somebody, or was he just being a prat?
He's been.
Go
You
on.
don't know yet.
He's been arrested, and then
There's no charges, though, is there?
not just yet. No. They're giving him for suspicion of criminal damage.
Yeah.
Oh, that's because he apparently when he went past or something, he blew out someone's shop window or something.
The tidal wave knocked out some windows and door and
And dangerous driving.
yeah, driving too fast through the floods. they reckon.
57-year-old bloke though. Should know better. You can't have your man like that. He's been just driving down the road.
I mean, if you can get through the flood, go for it.
I'd like to know where he was going.
Well, I say, what was he going for? Was he going for livestock? Was he going to rescue somebody? Or was he just being an
Going to the
absolute
pub.
prat?
Rugby
Rugby was played that day, wasn't it?
last orders, wasn't it? Young.
Shit, I'm late for the wife. Quick, I best get back for the pub. Well, there we are then. Hopefully, Tractor Man gets away.
No.
Yeah, hopefully he does, yeah. He
Hopefully
should
it's-
get done for that.
As
Hopefully
long
it's
as he
fine.
hasn't been doing something silly, that's the only
Yeah.
thing. They'll have to try and make a bit of a scene with him, I think, because it doesn't look good. The
No.
video does not look good. If he'd have been going steady through, it would have been a bit different. But I mean, it was the same as on the radio news as I was coming over here tonight. There was another load of women driving 4x4 Land Rovers across Dartmoor on Sunday in the floods, and they were saying they were going all over the road and off. Well, you know, they're doing it for fun, which is
Yeah.
fine, but then it gets the farmers a bad name.
Yeah.
And he will. Yeah, I mean, they'll absolutely ridicule him, and I think,
Maybe the cows were out.
yeah, it could be. It could be a good excuse, but he's got to find one very good that's going to sit there and get away with it.
Oh dear.
I've got one big question for you, Brenda.
Right, go on then.
So, you obviously worked with a lot of cattle.
Yeah.
How many different breeds have you worked with?
On a full-time basis, 4.
4.
4 different breeds.
So list them off. List them off.
Five. I go 5. Hereford, Sussex, Limb, Sim, and Angus.
Which one's your favourite?
Ooh.
That is a big question. Depending on the job, my favourite animal is a Sussex Sim.
That's a bit of a cop-out answer, don't you think?
No, Sussex
Mixing
Sim.
the two breeds together.
Sussex
Hey?
Sim, because I think with the Sussex Sim, you've got the best of both worlds. I mean, I love showing, but, all the world of cattle breeding has got to be commercial, whether it be pedigree Sussex, pedigree Sims, and I think the Sim Sussex is the most commercial there is, because you've got so many markets. You can either take them through to fattening. A lot of people love the Sussex Sim for a suckler cow. So it gives you so many more options.
Interesting.
And that's why my new boss has just bought 11 Simmentals to put to a Sussex bull.
Ooh, that's hot off the press to all you Sussex breeders.
I mean, everybody knows that. And then go with your terminal sire on that.
Yeah.
And if you want to keep in the schemes, then you can go Hereford if you must, Angus, because at the end of the day, commercially, it's those breed promotions that are making the extra 10, 15p on a kilo on a saleable commodity. But you'll get the growth, you'll get the milk with a semi-Sussex. Semi-Sussex or Sussex Sim, whichever way you
Because I
do
was going to say, you've got
Sussex.
2 commercials, two natives there. Which would be your favourite?
Showing wise now, because I'm not going to do it anymore because I'm getting too old for it.
Oh, don't
But
start
to
that
be, I would love to do one step further with the Simmies than I have, and that's win a real big show with the Simmy. I did it working for somebody, which I didn't have much to do with the breeding side of it, whereas with the Sussex, I don't
She's
have...
like a politician. She's very good at diving around the answer.
I
right?
have-
Commercial or native, Brenda? That was the question.
Commercial or native, I'd go commercial now.
Woo! Here we go.
Now.
I'd go work commercial, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a big answer. Hey?
We got the answer. We got the
People
answer.
up and down the country.
That's it.
Yeah. I love the shows and I love the pedigrees, but if I was just to have an ordinary job now, it would be with crossbred commercials. But then I'm not so interested in the fat stock showing of the commercials.
No.
That doesn't appeal to me either.
No.
What about dairy farming?
Never. Never, ever, ever.
No dairy for you, no?
No,
Doesn't
I don't do dairy. I probably milked, probably exaggerate, 50 days in my whole life, and I don't intend to start now.
What would be your bull of choice if you were going to pump one into a dairy farm?
If they were Holsteins, I'd have to go Limb. Jerseys or Guernseys, I mean, I worked with Guernseys for part-time for 20 years, never milked. I'd go with a native, I'd go with an Angus, because they will put that marbling into those Guernsey Channel Island breeds.
Yeah.
Whether you now go with a Wagyu or something, I don't know, because I don't know enough about those newer breeds to do it. But no, I'd certainly go with a native with a bit of fat on it to go into a Guernsey or a Jersey.
Interesting. There you go, dairy farmers. Listen in.
Brenda will not come milk your cows
No,
for
I
you.
will not come out with cows.
But let us know if you need a bull.
I'm fine. I mean, the Sussex Friesian or the Hereford Friesian were again good commercial, and you still get. I mean, my old boss at Stonegate, Mick Reed used to call because he was a big Sussex man and only ever did Sussex. He used to call the black white faces the white face robbers, because everybody went with the Hereford because it stamped the crossbred. You knew you got a Hereford cross before a lot of the Continentals came into the country. If you had a black with a white face, you knew it was a Hereford cross. With the Sussex, some of them would come red, some would come black. You didn't know what you were getting.
Interesting, isn't it?
That's a job to know, isn't it? Job to know with it.
But the Holstein is a different breed, a different thing altogether, because, I mean, there's not many of the natives who put enough shape into a Holstein.
Too bloody big.
Well,
They're huge, the Holstein.
they are huge, but also you haven't got the shape.
No.
You know, you'd have to go with a blue or a blue limb or a blue Sussex, something like that, to put a shape into a good Holstein.
Yeah. No, it would just all be frame otherwise, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That's what I'd think.
You still have milk in your cup of tea, do you?
Yes. Yes.
We can't out dairy farmers that much. Then.
No,
Thank you, dairy farmers.
That's fine. Dairy farmers are fine as long as I don't have to deal with them.
Oh dear. Well, so much has happened.
Yeah. Tuesday was a pretty big day last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Protests.
Was it a protest?
It was a show of strength, wasn't it? It was a show of people's thoughts, but I don't honestly think it's going to change their thoughts.
I had a phone call from someone a day after, and they said to me, "Oh, have you heard anything else? What's happening next?" I said, "No, nothing."
Oh.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
We've done this, fine. What are we going to do next?
No, I don't know what
You can't just do that and not do anything. You need to do something next. You need to keep it going.
But when you look at all the press on it, it still looks as though, sadly, the farmers think they're trying to be greedy. But you've got to look at the whole country as a whole. I mean, a lot of them won't pay tax because they roll it over. It won't. But there is those that will, and a lot of those aren't actually the family farms when you look at it. It will be the bigger people who put a lot of money in through other investments.
Yeah.
In my opinion, and I mean I don't follow politics that much, I must admit.
Yeah, it was a bit of a gathering, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you went up there.
I did, yeah.
What did you think of it all?
I thought it was incredible to see that amount of farmers in one place.
Yeah.
As an industry, because it's probably never happened in that scale before, in one situated area. But after going to the football or going to the rugby, it's no different to what they have in a stadium every week. There's 60,000 people, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know?
No.
Like, it's in the grand scheme of things, they get those numbers week in, week out. I came away from there. It was brilliantly done. Great chatting to people, speaking to people here, there and everywhere across the country. And it did show that we could turn up on a day.
Yeah.
But I stood there for 2 hours and
Got cold, got wet.
got cold, got wet, and listened to great speakers. But
And
I'm not
nothing's
being
changed.
funny. But I don't know what I've kind of learned out of it, or what's going to help me in my farming journey.
Kind of what's been gained as well.
Exactly. Like,
What has been gained from it?
it was bittersweet, if I was to say it.
Yeah.
It was, honestly, on the train up there, you would never ever get that. I don't think you'll ever get it again.
No.
That you'll get on a train and the whole thing is full of farmers.
Yeah.
Like, bless the old cleaner the next day, because those floors would be so full of E. coli, she'd be shitting through the eye of a needle. Like, those farming boots were dirty as fuck. Like, the poor fucker that's cleaned that up. But, I mean, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Go on, Dylan.
So, 60,000 farmers, you look across the videos, the pictures, anything, it's £300 barber coats, £180 shuffles, £180 shamu wellies, and then you go in there saying, please don't make us pay more money. How can you, as an industry, justify that look?
That's exactly why I didn't wear any of them, but yeah.
Yeah, and that is the image of the farm, isn't it? You know, all the 4x4s. They don't look at the other side of it. That actually, okay, a lot of them have the 4x4s as a status symbol. A lot of them don't have them to use on the farm, and the tractors and all that. You know, you put on there. You know, a new tractor's 100,000, but it's actually they need that to do their business. And when this country is starving because we've had to import all the grub from abroad, then people will start and think, but they won't until then. And I know where you're coming from.
So why didn't you go in your work clothes?
Yeah.
If you
Turn up
because
in
you don't wear those clothes farming. You wear those clothes when you're going on a day out or something. So why didn't you show the real picture of farming?
There were people that did that. No disrespect to them. Like one of my friends went in his New Holland boiler suit and his jacket absolutely stunk. Like fucking hell.
Right.
He walked in that train. He said he hadn't got it out of his tractor all summer.
Yeah.
It was rotten. And he put it on. He rocked it out there and great. Then you turn around and look at the wall and your wifey's wearing her Fairfaxes with the tassels on, holding a Back British Farming sign up, and you're like, come on.
So me as a member of public walking past that, having looked at all the amount of money in that, I'm like, make them pay.
If you see someone in a barber jacket or something like that walking in London, you think they live in London, they just go shooting on a weekend, kind of thing. Because
I think that protest was lovely. It was a great show of force. It's great to see that farming, everyone wants to pull in the same direction, but we're all pulling different sorts of strings.
Yeah, I'd agree.
It's what's next. There's got to be something next. Like you've got to keep it going. You can't just stop. You've got to change the game now and get things moving in the right way so that they do listen to you. Because if you just sit tight and don't do anything, you're never going to change anything, are you?
No. You won't change anything if you just do it.
I will have to say to that one bloke so last year we, as farmers in Kent, had a whole issue with cheap imports and APHA because we were the only ones suffering with blue tongue. And this certain individual went out onto his social media because there's a large following and said, "Oh no, we shouldn't protest. We shouldn't protest. It's the wrong thing to do." And because he wasn't in the headlines of the protest, he wasn't the main person organising the protest. But because this year he's the main person organising the protest, "Oh, you all need to turn up. We need to support the industry. All stand together. Please, everyone turn up." Just because you are the main person now, and you feel like it's okay when you say it, but when everyone else says it, it's not okay.
Because it affects them directly.
Yeah.
If it
But
directly
that's the
affects
same-
you, you're on board, and you.
That's the same argument with the NFU. Why didn't they support the farmers last year? But this year, because the top percentage of their members are going to be affected by this issue.
And that is the trouble, Dylan, and that's where it gets out of hand because the ordinary farmer doesn't have that sort of say. You know, Jeremy Clarkson, everybody thinks he's doing a good job. Is he? Isn't he? I'm sitting on the fence with him. He's putting it out there in the public view, but actually, it ain't going to affect him.
No, it's not.
That is two sides of the stories, isn't it? Like, the whole thing. I mean, is it actually going to affect you? Are you going to be all right? Are you just kind of standing in because you like the limelight?
To be fair to him, he did come out last week, and in all his speeches, he said,
he's
"It's
very
not,
good.
Of course.
He's very
it's
clever.
not going to affect me. It's no. I'm here for everyone else in this industry."
It's like he stood up, didn't he? And he said for 15 years or something, he was in London driving around, and he thought that farmers just drove Land Rovers, Range Rovers, and then went skiing for 2 times a month. It's like, fine, yeah, you knew that, but now he's gone into farming. Yes, he does know what we face and stuff. Okay, it's not going to affect him. But
he is on the other side in as much as he's telling people that, but he still comes across to the normal general public not great, I don't think.
Yeah, and he shouldn't be the person. He shouldn't be the face. Shouldn't be the face of it. No,
Not by no means. Look at the train drivers, the schools when they go about it. They have a union that is their representation.
Why isn't your union doing this? Why isn't your union
the same as yours?
What union?
I don't go by a union.
Huh?
I don't go by a union.
Do we
Yeah,
have?
but the farming union, the supposed farming union. Why were they like as soon as people they start because they started it, didn't
Yeah,
they?
of
Really, they started it. People got on board, and as soon as people got on board, they were like, they apparently got told, no, we can't be having this. Many people into London, and they all backed down.
But yeah.
So why don't the train drivers back down? Why don't the nurses back down? Why is it that the farming union? What's
They got
the
bollocks.
what's the hold? What's the hold that the government has on your farming union that they can't carry through with their threats?
No comment.
That's my question.
Land
I don't
is
know.
land is
Land.
numbers, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Sadly,
Land is a big
money,
part of their
and
number.
it's money. And it's money.
Like,
It's a tough one, and
I don't know how you answer it.
yeah,
no.
no one knows the answer.
And
No
to
one
be,
knows.
to be honest, I can't see how we can move forward from it.
Right from this,
No, like how do we head that direction if they're not willing to?
No.
I think you've done like the biggest thing. You've gone to London, okay, and you've stood there, done what you said, showed in force.
But
But what is next? Like, what can you do? Are you going to put shit
Oh,
up Big
that's
Ben?
it.
Are you going to
No.
put
No.
like
they've got very little other choices, have they? That's the problem. Where else do they go? They can't go.
so but they had this when I don't know 2000 and something when they were going to ban hunting.
yeah,
Loads of people turned up into London, did a little march, and then went home, and they still banned it.
Yeah.
Do you know? So unless
think
you're
the
willing to fight for and stand on and die on that hill and say we're not having this inheritance tax and we're going to cause some disruption, what the government are just going to go, yeah, well they've turned up, great, they put some money into the pubs in London,
Yeah.
the economy is great,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah, I think you've got that about right then. I'm afraid. I don't
The
see
sad
how-
reality is, though, that's the way it's going to head
Yeah, I think it is.
because there's no other option now.
No.
Because
There
we've tried the nice way. You know, like they went about that. It's a peaceful. It wasn't
Yeah.
even a protest. A peaceful gathering.
Yeah.
You know. You can't do that again.
No, 'cause
How
it
else
means
are you
nothing.
going to go about it peacefully if they're not going to listen to you the first time? I'm afraid you got to enforce your opinion. Otherwise, time travels on.
Alright.
it'll go
How
too
could-
far ahead before you can do something about it.
Yeah.
How long are you going to wait until the next one? 2 months to wait for an answer after the last one? By 2 months' time?
You're just not going to get an answer, though, are we?
He's not going to get an answer.
Like realistically, what you would have expected is for when the Prime Minister's questions came. Well, they come on tomorrow. Prime Minister's questions. When they come on, that should be the main topic.
Yeah.
But it won't be. Anyway, one thing they say never talk about is religion. Is politics.
I should never ever get an answer because people is so diverse and then people, you know, it doesn't affect most people. And let's face it, us sitting here tonight, we can't do anything about politics. We can all whinge and have our opinion, but we ain't going to change it. We're not. I'm certainly not going to.
No, we
Who
are not.
knows?
But
Yeah, but I think there's stuff that farmers can do that can put pressure on the government. First point is human sludge. All these farmers that take
No.
this human sludge, stop taking it. Where are they going to do? What are they going to do?
That's exactly what I said.
Where are they going to put it?
And paper waste.
You know, there's all these different things. I'm not talking about. You can't. Some people can't afford to stop selling their produce, like dairy farmers. You can't. Do you know
No.
what I mean?
Stop
So,
milk.
and I think that's the wrong way to do it because once the public starts going hungry, you've lost them. Then
yeah, farmers aren't that type of people that would just be like, actually, do you know what? Let's starve the world. Let's starve the country. We're not.
But we can spread our own shit though.
yeah. So you don't. You know, you don't need that paper waste. You don't all these gritting contracts that farmers have to go
Yeah.
gritting. Stop gritting. Let the council cope with it and see how they go with it.
Yeah.
There's loads of stuff that farmers do, hedge cutting for the
Hedge cutting,
council.
yeah.
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 There's loads of stuff we can stop doing as an agricultural industry that the council will then have to go to the government. Well, listen, we can't get these jobs done.
They'll take that 500 odd million that they're giving to foreign farmers and bring it back and try and sort the problem out, won't they? That's what they're going to try and do. That's outrageous what they did there. Yeah. It'll get sorted.
They'll probably quite like it though if you stop cutting the edges. They'll think, oh wow, we're holding now.
Yeah, but they'll like it all the while until someone goes, well,
claim because they haven't seen round a corner because they haven't cut a
the
hedge.
countryside looks a mess.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
As we say, we've always been the Coastonians of the countryside, and they don't want us to do it now. They want to tell us what we got to do. And at the end of the day, sadly, there's an awful lot of people now in the countryside that are going down that route where they can get a bit of money for doing nothing. But in 20 years' time, the countryside's going to be a mess the way they're going. And we should be hungry.
Scary stuff.
And the country will be hungry because we'll be importing everything.
Yeah, how do you think it's like the government going to doctors? No, see these scalpels that you use. No, we don't like. Start using scissors. But you don't go and tell someone who's been in that industry for decades that this is. Do you know?
Not only scissors, those ones you get at primary school. The ones that cut
The ones
with
that
funny
do the
shapes.
Oh jeez.
So wonky round the road. I think we're running out a bit of time, aren't we? But one last question, Brenda.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody that would be getting into the agriculture industry now or thinking about going into it?
You've got to be very resilient. You've got to be hard-working, but you don't go to work. I've never in 40-odd years gone to work, apart from a few jobs I had that didn't work out. You've got to be passionate. And if you're not passionate, forget it, because you're not going into it for the money. You're not going in a lot of cases to be a star of anything. You just go to be
An alcoholic.
And work hard to be an alcoholic. It costs a lot of money to be an alcoholic now. But no, I think you've got to be passionate. You've got to be passionate about what you want to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, through all my time, I've spent a lot of time with the youth.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've got lots of youngsters. I mean, there's a young lad now who's got his own business, who at 14, I said to him, well, what do you want to do? I want to be a wholesale butcher. And he is. Because he was passionate about wanting to do it. I mean, he was a little shit at 14. I mean, I took him up to a show because that was a youth thing I did with him. And we broke down on the M25 going up twice. And we got there, and as we loaded up 2 heifers to come home, he said to me, and I could have hit him around the ear holes, I hope I get home in time for Edenbridge Show. This was Thursday. I hope I get home in time for Edenbridge Show on Saturday because I want to take my heifer to Edenbridge Show. I said, oh, we do. But he always had a smile on his face. He always was passionate about what he did. And that is where the youngsters in farming have got to be, because there ain't no money to be made, not big money to be made in it.
No.
Blimey.
Well, you've heard it.
That's put pressure on every other guest to follow that.
You have heard it from the woman herself, Brenda.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
No, it has been
I
brilliant.
wish you all the very best. I really do, because like I say, it doesn't affect me for much longer. At my age, I shall continue farming as long as I can, but I do think it's a very hard industry for the youngsters to make a living at, but also be able to enjoy it, because there is that balance of making enough to live and enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that the truth?
That is the truth.
That's the truth.
Sure.
Right.
What a way to end the podcast. Wow.
That's been as
There's a mic drop.
educational as they come. So what's happening next in the next few weeks? Where are we? Where you boys going to be before we sign off?
Well, the first thing we got Saturday.
Farmers Ball, yeah. We're having a little bit of dancing with Boogie.
That's it.
What's that? The High Rocks?
Yeah, we'll have the old Sussex Farmers Ball.
The old
We'll have
ball
a bit of
season's
do.
about and everything. That's it.
We'll have a good time there, won't we?
We will do indeed. We will do.
And then fat stock shows.
all across the country, I think. So that sort of shows are now, aren't they?
Yeah.
What we got? What we got?
Well, a big credit to the ones that the Royal Welsh today, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That came out today. Big money made for carcasses and live weight stock sold, wasn't it?
See if it follows around the country then. See what happens.
Yeah.
We got, what, 2 down southeast?
Yeah, Harrelsham next week and Ashwood the week after.
There we are. 2 fat stocks there.
Yeah.
And then, all the ones across the country.
We go Tame, won't there be Tame down this part of the world? Tame, I presume Tame is going.
Flying.
And
We're
then
always there. Always doing something, here we boys. That's it.
But yeah.
Right, yeah. So we have been SBU. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share comments on all the social medias. Where can they find us?
Spotify,
Instagram.
YouTube.
TikTok.
Facebook.
That's a lot.
Email.
Yeah, email. Yeah, that's
Drop the
the
email
one, yeah.
again.
Come on, no one's dropped us an email yet. We've got to put pressure on you lot. Hey?
The inbox is looking pretty quiet, isn't it? No,
Right,
well,
But yeah,
and that's it.
that's it. We have been the Short, Black and Ugly.
I've been the ugly this week.
we've been the black.
I have been the Short this week. That's
Yeah,
it. There
think
we go.
about it, yeah.
I did have
Think
to
about
think
what it
it.
is.
No,
Useless.
indeed. And thank you again very much, Brenda, for coming on.
Yeah.
It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure having you on.
It's been
And,
enjoyable, very enjoyable.
That's
We
the
wish
wind up
you-
on the pitch.
Let's play ball. Get me to the pub.